The pleasant chime of notification, alerts, echoed through the spacious Los Angeles mansion as Jenna Hill scrolled through the flood of glowing comments on her latest Instagram post. Another day, another wave of adoration from her ever-growing fan base of over 500,000 loyal followers. But one negative comment snagged Jenna's attention. Its cruel words laced with jealousy. When will you peacocks stop preening for likes and give your daughter some attention? Jenna's plastic smile tightened. Her manager, Dan, insisted constant posting was key to maintaining relevance in this cutthroat industry. But Mark was already in a mood after last night's fight. She gingerly pocketed her phone and ventured upstairs. In the loft room, 7-year-old Emily sat babbling to her dolls, oblivious to the tension just downstairs. Jenna's pulse quickened at the sight of her angelic daughter, a reminder of simpler times before fame pulled her down this elusive path. She leaned in the doorway, watching wistfully, but Emily's glee soured as heavy footsteps clumped up behind. What? No stream today? Mark spat, his sullen eyes narrowed on Jenna. I'm sure your fans are dying to see more of our perfect little life. Jenna tensed. Don't do this now. Not in front of her. Oh, please. Like she hasn't seen you preening for the camera every second. Mark sneered down at Emily, who shrank into herself. Just like Mommy, always so desperate for attention. Stop it. Jenna hissed through clenched teeth, ushering Emily aside. She spun to face her husband, lowering her voice. We've been over this. It's just work. You want nice things, a good life. This is how we have it. Mark loomed over her, his towering frame quivering with barely checked fury. Work. Since when is posting selfies all hours work? Maybe if you spent half as much time on us as you do on those thirsty fans. A delighted shout from Emily cut him off. She held up her phone, grinning proudly. Mommy, look how many likes. Jenna paled. On Emily's screen, filtered selfies of their argument were being shared to Jenna's account in real time, gaining double taps by the second. Behind the perfect walls of this mansion, their toxic facade was crumbling before 500,000 eyes. Mark shoved Jenna aside and seized the phone, his rage boiling over. This is what you've turned her into, your little prop. She's a child, not a prop for your pathetic fame. He dashed the phone to the hardwood floor, shattering its screen. Emily watched in stunned silence, tears welling. Jenna stepped between them, palms out. Mark, stop. You're scaring her. This isn't helping anything. Helping? All you care about is helping yourself. Mark turned on his heel and stormed out, his final words a guttural yell down the stairs. I'm done being your little puppet, Jennifer. This isn't what I signed up for. Downstairs, a door slammed with piercing finality. Jenna crumpled to her knees, gathering Emily in her arms as her daughter shook with terrified sobs. Outside, the azure California sun still shone down over these sprawling mansions, like an empty promise, illuminating only the cracks spreading through this gilded prison of a life Jenna had crafted. As Emily cried herself to sleep that night, Jenna lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Mark's words on loop in her mind. Was this really all just some twisted game for validation? Or had she lost herself in the glittering mask she wore for those thirsty followers, sacrificing her family to feed its starving ego? A nauseating realization dawned that whatever this house imprisoned, it wasn't just Mark and Emily. It was controlling her too, and soon its perfect facade would come crashing down. The birthday festivities were in full swing by late afternoon, the mansion pulsating with joyful chaos as dozens of chattering children tore through the halls. Balloons and streamers coated every surface in a rainbow smear. The lyrics of Happy Birthday on repeat warbled by off-key young voices. Yet amid the cacophonous celebration, an ominous cloud hung over the hills as Jenna scrambled to keep up appearances. In the spacious backyard overlooking olive groves, Emily beamed over her princess. Themed party amid a flock of classmates. Finally, something good to remember on this dreaded day. But Jenna's smile was a brittle mask, hiding her fatigue from feuding with Mark all week since the meltdown. Where was he? She surveyed the party uneasily. At last, Mark emerged from the house with a sloshing beer in hand, glowering as he watched Emily. His taut frame radiated simmering resentment at being dragged to this dog and pony show. You just couldn't resist milking one more photo op out of her birthday, could you? He sneered. Jenna stiffened. This is for Emily. I thought it might help repair things between us. A bitter laugh erupted from Mark. Repair things, thanks to your antics. Our daughter's growing up thinking internet points matter more than family. That's not fair, Jenna hissed through her tight smile, aware of dozens of judging parental eyes upon them now. I'm trying, Mark. Can't you see? I'm trying. His eyes flashed dangerously. No. All I see is you, Jen, hogging the spotlight, like you always do. At that moment, Emily tugged on Jenna's arm, beaming with a wrapped gift, but catching sight of Mark's flushed face, her smile melted into fearful hesitation. Is Daddy okay, Mommy? She asked quietly, twisting her party dress nervously. That did it. Something snapped in Mark's reddened gaze, the last tattered thread of his restraint shredding before the gathered witnesses to his emasculation. I'm not okay, he roared at Emily, drawing shocked gasps. None of this is okay because of her and her fame. Chasing ways. He grabbed Jenna's wrist in a crushing grip, wrenching her around to face his crazed eyes. It all has to stop, Jen. I'm putting an end to this charade. Right here, right now. From his waistband appeared a glint of cold steel as Mark produced a snub-nosed pistol, eliciting screams. Emily stood frozen in horror, the gift slipping from her slack fingers. Around her, the carefree bubble of childhood joys popped in a deafening blast, subsumed by the metallic stench of danger as parents swarmed to shield their children. But none could shield little Emily from the hell about to be unleashed by her own broken family. Mark pressed the gun beneath Jenna's quivering chin, his voice a trembling snarl. You're mine, Jen, not theirs. Do you understand? Say it. She choked back a sob. Mark, please, not in front of... Bang! The pistol erupted with an ear-splitting crack, blood and brains exploding in a crimson halo. Jenna's limp body crumpled to the grass, the perfect mask shattered at last. In that split second, Mark's madness climbed to heights unknown as he swung the smoking gun towards the petrified crowd and pulled the trigger again. The shots echoed out across the sprawling hills, like twin cracks of doom, freezing the picturesque California afternoon in stunned horror. Parents clutched their children, smothering screams into quivering shoulders. But no one moved as Mark prowled between the statuesque clusters with his smoking pistol, his deranged eyes scanning for any sign of resistance. Among the petrified guests, one pair of blue eyes remained dry and focused. Emily gazed unblinkingly at the grisly scene, her mind slipping cleanly into calm detachment from the carnage, dousing her pink party dress, scarlet A ghostly thread tethered her to this place, binding her to witness every unspooling moment. Just then, a tinny voice pierced the deathly quiet. "Mark, what's going on? Can you hear me?" Emily turned toward the source, her mother's abandoned phone on the patio, still live-streaming to 500,000 viewers. Mark lunged for it with an anguished howl, but Emily was faster. She snatched up the phone and stumbled back, planting herself between the gunman and the traumatized guests. Mark reared before her, flecked in gore, his broken soul pulsating from wild eyes. "Emily, give it to me. We won't let them see us like this." But Emily's gaze remained limpid and distant as she lifted the phone higher, focusing its lens unflinchingly on the monster before her. "Daddy, why did you hurt Mommy?" she asked in dulcet tones that cut through the static like a cold blade. A million eyes bore witness through that small screen as Mark faltered, his resolve crumbling under the weight of his daughter's unnerving serenity. It wasn't me, sweet pea. It was the anger. It just snapped." He took a staggering step forward, hand outstretched, and brought the pistol up underneath his own chin. Emily watched him collapse in a heap beside her fallen mother, without so much as a blink. Her young voice carried clearly through the phone, still live-streaming this family's final, horrific moments. "Mommy, Daddy, wake up. Please wake up." But no response came, only the eerie susurrus of a crowd gone deathly still. For a suspended fragment of time, Emily stood alone amid the carnage, locking 500,000 pairs of eyes to her stoic blue gaze as sirens wailed in the distance. At long last, life stirred back through the onlookers, like electricity thawing frozen limbs. Mothers clutched their children and fled shrieking into the sprawling mansions dotting the hills. Fathers broke into grim discussions, dialing emergency numbers with shaking fingers. Only Emily remained locked in place, broadcasting this unthinkable tragedy for all the world to witness through the tiny screen gripped in her blood-stained hands. For better or worse, her innocence had passed that terrible threshold, branded forevermore in the fresh trauma, scorched into 500,000 souls. Time ceased to hold meaning for Emily in the blurred aftermath. Minutes melted into hours as the paramedics pried her rigid fingers from the phone's slick casing, whisked her away beneath strobing lights. She drifted numbly through the bustle of the hospital, sirens converging from all directions to receive the new casualties of this crime wave piercing Los Angeles. Within isolation rooms, Emily underwent shell-shock therapies, while investigators probed her glassy recollections of that nightmarish scene for any remaining clues. Yet beneath her tranquil facade stirred a white-hot maelstrom, every nerve alight with phantom gunshots and the coppery stench coating her dress. Sleep refused to offer sanctuary from the hellish loop, unspooling before her mind's eye. Outside, in the real world, news of this latest mass shooting swept headlines globally amid a fresh firestorm. Cameras stalked victims' families for statements. Obituary photos of Jenna and Mark splashed across front pages, but none sought Emily for comment. At least not yet. Her status as the only living witness had not gone unnoticed by less scrupulous forces, lurking at society's lurid fringes. As Emily's condition stabilized enough for questioning, a kindly officer sat with her and began gently probing for details. His calm voice cut through her catatonia like an anchor in the turbulent seas of her psyche. She recounted the argument. The shots, her father's final words with utter detachment. No tears came. The officer squeezed her tiny shoulder compassionately. "You've been so brave, Emily. Is there anyone we can call? Any other family to look after you?" She only shook her head, mutely. Her parents were estranged from distant relatives. Dan was just Jenna's manager, alone in the world now, but for strangers. After, when visitation was permitted, Emily received thousands. Jenna's distraught followers pouring donations, toys, and comfort. But among the well-wishers lurked opportunists disguised as sympathizers, gleaning any morsel to satiate an insatiable public. One pushy interloper snapped Emily's photo before staff intervened, uploading her haggard image with a pandering clickbait caption, fueling her exploitation before it could really take hold. Emily turned her stoic gaze to the window as squad cars escorted her from the hospital under cover of nightfall, concealing her from prying lenses seeking fresh tragedy fodder. Where she was being taken, who might seek to prey upon a vulnerable soul so poised on the knife's edge between healing and shattering completely, she did not yet know, but darkness remained twin shadows hounding her steps into the uncertain dark. Emily sat huddled in a worn armchair by the window, staring sightlessly into the nightfall, blanketing the children's home. 2 days had passed since escaping that suffocating hospital, with its pitying whispers and probing questions. Yet, no safe harbor lay ahead. Only this way, station, until the legal vultures tore her asunder for their own gain. On the first night, strange cars prowled beyond the high iron gates under cover of darkness, illuminated figures exchanging hushed words with the caretakers. Emily knew they did not come to offer comfort. They came to observe, to size up this prized commodity, dropped like manna from the viral heavens into their laps. She was little more than inventory to these nameless suits. Soon, the bureaucratic gears ground into motion as competing factions began jockeying for control. There were the authorities wishing to close the grim case and shelve its loose ends. Social workers hoping to place Emily quickly into a loving home. But others saw her not as a child to cherish, but as assets to market and money to squeeze. Chief among these was Dan Rubin, Jenna's ambitious manager, smelling blood in the water. He swooped in with his silken words, persuading caretakers their organization lacked resources to properly support a girl of Emily's unique situation. Better she enter his guardianship, where he could offer world-class accommodations matched to her every need. Behind Dan's assurances stirred only thoughts of the fame and wealth to be mined from Emily's tragic notoriety. With the right media spin doctoring, he could milk this shooting for millions, while securing his golden goose. The pursuit of profit and influence blinded him to the innocent soul he sought to exploit for selfish gain. Emily watched their vulture, circling from her perch at the window, and knew true evil when she saw it. Yet powerlessness consumed her as, one by one, those sworn to protect her fell sway to Dan's toxic charms. With the system itself corrupted against her, there seemed no escape from becoming just another commodity to be bought and sold on the open market. Her dead parents' legacy twisted into a grotesque spectacle, unless a flicker of defiance stirred beneath her outer shell of calm, kindling the first sparks of a plan. She would not go down without a fight. The vultures had no idea what they were really dealing with in this small, silent girl. A chill wind whistled through skeletal tree branches as October's sullen dusk descended. Emily sat huddled before a crackling fireplace, warming numb hands and staring into the flickering depths. All around, the children's home bustled with early preparations for Halloween, carving pumpkins, hanging tissue paper bats high on walls. but Emily felt only emptiness as her mind churned. Tonight was the hearing to decide her fate, and Dan's slick presence loomed ever larger over the proceedings. His team had armed a private meeting earlier to lay out stark terms. Comply, and Emily would gain financial security for life. And lavish patronage. Refuse, and he would crush any opposition beneath a barrage of litigation, swallowing her support system whole. Amid threats thinly veiled as kindness, Emily sensed his insatiable parasitic hunger to subsume her very identity, shackling her potential like a caged songbird, meant only for poaching riches from its golden throat. Her stoic composure, fractured to reveal fury's smoldering heart, fanning rebellion's defiant spark into wildfire. She would not be his victim or anyone's. As night fell, Emily rode in suffocating silence to the courthouse, breathing the stale air of bureaucracy's red tape. Inside, competing vultures postured before droning suites, each twist grinding her nerves. Finer, at long last, Emily herself was called to give testimony through delicate questions meant to induce tears. Trauma, plucking empathy strings for maximum impact. But Emily stared calmly into Dan's glower, retelling the tragedy in clipped, dispassionate tones devoid of drama. No tears came. His machinations backfired as her composure emphasized inner strength, exceeding sentimental appeals. When asked her preferences, Emily stated simply yet firmly that she wished to live freely, make her own choices, not be packaged and sold for fame or profit. A stunned hush fell. Never had these sterile halls witnessed such poise from one so young. Ripples of disbelief and grudging respect spread through droning bureaucrats, glimpsing, perhaps for the first time, the steel spine within this fragile outward shell. Their verdict was unanimous. Emily showed wisdom and resolve, exceeding any guardian. Temporary emancipation was granted. Dan reeled in outrage as Emily swept serenely from the room, immune to his spluttering threats. A career hung in the balance now. He would not be denied so easily, not when this golden goose remained loose in the world. But for tonight, Emily allowed herself a faint smile, knowing darkness' talons had loosened, if only for now. From her freed spirit, hope glimmered where before had lurked only shadow. Her journey was only beginning.